Happy Monday morning. Welcome back to another Stock Market Open Live. This week we've got some good old caddies coming up, and we are getting closer to that good old bank term funding program coming to an end. I thought we would see a little bit more of a surge going into the end of the bank term funding program. Maybe that's still ahead of us, but it's not really present at the moment. Maybe that's a good thing. But let's take a look at some of the delicious catalyst numbers we're expecting this week, and then we're into March, which is wild. So first, we're looking for new home sales. Ooh, new home sales. Toll Brothers, if they are any guide in terms of what to expect, numbers should be pretty good. Then again, Toll Brothers tends to favor sort of the more luxury home buyer, and there seem to be groups of people in this economy, and one group are the haves, and the others are the have-nots. And some people are struggling, and others are not. Others just keep spending money. So new home sales, wouldn't be surprised to see some disparity there based on income. It's something that we're noticing, by the way, as well, when we look at renting out properties with House Hack. One of the things we're noticing is we're seeing the areas with the most jobs are areas where properties are renting the fastest. So wouldn't be surprised to see some form of price disparity when it actually comes to these new home sales. So new home sales looking for 684,000. The prior was 664. Then that data is coming out today at about 7 a.m. No data until then. No good old 5:30 data. That's always the fun data, the real early data. Okay, then we've got tomorrow at 5:30. We'll start with durable goods and capital goods. Then we'll go on to the let's see here, S&P Home Price Index on later on the 27th at 6 a.m. That's all tomorrow. We will get GDP annualized on the 28th, so GDP quarter figures. You'll get the Q4 second read. Remember, there are 3 reads when it comes to these quarterly GDP figures, so it's a little funky how they do it, but think about it kind of like having an initial, and then having a second, and then having a final read to get your GDP number, your official GDP number. And so, again, right now that looks like, that data will be released on the 28th, and we're looking at GDP annualized coming in at 3.3. Now, if we go to the Atlanta Fed, which I don't think is updating until tomorrow again, we should be sitting just below 3%. Yep, 2.9%, and it does indeed update tomorrow again, which is interesting because that'll be the day before the Q4 release, and that'll incorporate the data like the durable goods and capital good orders. I think durable goods, I always like to think of things like washing machines. Anyway, so then we've got on the 29th, we'll be looking for personal income, personal spending, PC deflator month over month, year over year, and then, of course, the core sets. Now, what's wild is the core set is really looking a little warm. And a lot of folks are like, well, yeah, I mean, all the January data for inflation was warm, so what do you expect? And others are like, no, this is bad. This is the reinflation, the reacceleration of inflation. We're screwed. But that core number is showing up at 0.4% for month-over-month PCE expectations. I want to see the range of those expectations because it is pretty high. And let's see here. We've got a low estimate of 0.2, high estimate of 0.5. Looks like you've got 43 estimates in, and almost everyone is between 0.3 and 0.45. That would make up about, that's certainly over 80% of the estimates are in that range. So pretty wild. Anyway, okay, so that'll be PCE later this week. PCE will be the morning of the 29th, leap year. And then initial, that means this year has 366 days. Anyway, then it's just so weird how that functions out. But I guess every year is technically 365.25. Anyway, then you've got initial jobless claims, big deal. Sentiment at the end of the week for the beginning of March, and you'll also get ISM prices paid. Which, remember, when we got the S&P prices paid for the services index last week, it was actually a little softer for January than expected. So a lot of folks thinking that reiterates, yeah, probably got a little bit of a one-time seasonal hit there at good old inflation reads. Kathy Wood says, let's see here, somebody, Dr. Parikh Patel here says, we've got Kathy, why did you sell your NVIDIA at bottom 9 hours ago? This is on X. And Kathy replies, based on our AI research, ARK bought NVIDIA in 2014 at about $5, when most investors were valuing it as a PC gaming chip company. After a more than 150-fold gain, we continue to take profits. Grateful for NVIDIA. Nice. Nice clapback. Nice. So then we've got concentration risk rising. The potential for broader market participation could support the rally in U.S. stocks. You know, that's actually something that that has been talked about quite a bit, and it does sort of frustrate some folks. You've got some folks who are frustrated that why is it you could have potentially mega cap and maybe even sort of the AI rally slow and have this relaxation of enthusiasm, and yet expectations that the stock market might continue to boom. And the thesis is that so far you've had very little breadth. That is, you've started to see more gains, but most of the gains lately have been concentrated in sort of the Magnificent Six, if you will. And the percentage of S&P 500 stocks hitting their 52-week highs is somewhere at, let's see here, 14.06%. And that suggests, even though the index is at all-time highs, we're nowhere near some of those levels that we've seen in prior bubbly periods where basically we were between 30 to 40% of stocks within the index hitting their all-times. So who knows? But that's something that gives folks hopium of broadening. Maybe that'll be the case. So then let's take a peek here. We have, so that's the economic calendar. Warren Buffett finds himself with a record pile of cash and sort of signaled that, you know, the odds of getting, quote, eye-popping returns in this environment, that these prices are, quote, unlikely. And the company was up, I believe, as I last looked, it was up about like 4% or so after we got earnings here. It's only up about 2% now. So it's faded a little bit going into the open here. One thing that I don't think has really faded yet is NVIDIA. If we can find the darn thing, it's up another % here in pre-market. I did notice it seems to be having trouble at that 8 figure. So I want to see if that ends up being another issue today. Because if 800 is going to act as some form of new resistance, yeah, it's tough to draw. I couldn't necessarily draw it right now. 800's right about here. We might be closer to about 805. Hey, that's my area code. Anyhow. All right. So Berkshire operating income comes in at $8.48 billion versus the $7.89 billion expected. You know what would be really interesting is, let's compare for a moment. Berkshire Hathaway We'll grab one of their letters here. Let's see here. Annuals. Okay, 2023 will go for their annual 10K. What would be very interesting is if we look at their 10K for the year. Okay, here we go. So that's just the utilities division. My goodness, they really segment out their business substantially, which is wonderful. But here we go. Consolidated statement of earnings. We've got $263 billion of income in 2023. Plus, oh wow, I'm sorry, plus their railroad, utilities, and energies. That brings you to 364. And when I get to net earnings, you're at about $97 billion in net earnings. Okay, so you started at, let's see here, 364. You brought 320, hold on, let's divide this. 97 divided by 364. You're bringing about 26.6% to the bottom line at their Berkshire businesses. And their cash flow is about $50 billion for the year. Now, for giggles, you jump on over to NVIDIA, which, if I remember correctly, they were at $26 billion of cash flow for the year. Cash flow from operations, 29. Okay, I was close. $29 billion in cash flow from operations. And then we've got some PPE expenses here, plant, property, equipment. So, but anyway, you could even round it to 30. So round it to $30 billion of cash flow at NVIDIA, and then compare that to the cash flow, the annual cash flow at Berkshire Hathaway. Berkshire Hathaway is making 63% more cash flow than NVIDIA is. If anything, it actually kind of makes you think about how just big NVIDIA is then. Because Berkshire Hathaway, I mean, gosh, they own so many companies. Let's see here. Let's do sort of like a list of sub-companies. You've got Seas Candy, NetJets. They've got a lot of different sort of pilot charter, plane charter companies here. Kraft Heinz. Let's see here. Berkshire Energy, Insurance. Geico's got to be in here somewhere. There it is. Geico. Diamond Company. Dairy Queen. Clayton Homes. Oh, they got a home builder in here too. Business Wire. Oh, that's funny. That's where people do press releases for companies. That is very interesting. I did not know that was a Berkshire company. Look at that. Don't bother with news. Get in the press releases. Benjamin Moore, the paint company. Another Ben Bridge jeweler. Another jeweler. 2 jewelers in here. Huh. Fascinating. I think it's great. Good for them. Okay, so then let's take a peek here. So this gives us a little bit on Berkshire relativity. I think it's interesting. Okay. So, rising, yeah, well, okay, so now you've got more thoughts of this again. The rising neutral rate, a U.S. neutral rate of interest that is higher than conventional estimates, would be a double dose of bad news for bonds. Not only would such a scenario mean that yields have much less room to fall, but it would also suggest that inflation will take longer to fall back to the Fed's target. And inflation is toxic for bonds. Well, yeah, I mean, it eradicates your yield. It's one of the interesting things. You know, we were comparing investments in real estate versus bonds. And one of the things that frequently you have with real estate is inflation protection built in. So, for example, if you have a bond yielding 4% or you have real estate yielding 4%, yeah, well, there's an argument that you could actually compare real estate at 4% to bonds at 5% because of the appreciation benefits of real estate on sort of a federal income tax basis. That was interesting, but that's a little bit more of a complicated argument. But anyway, even if they were similar, there's this idea that real estate investments will have inflation protection, whereas bonds wouldn't have that built in. In other words, the real estate would appreciate at least as much of inflation, if not a little bit more, whereas bonds might not. I thought that was an interesting observation. Okay, so let's see what some folks are talking about over here. 24 terabytes uploaded to YouTube daily. Imagine how much data storage will be needed with millions of people using something like Sora. Data centers are going to be dystopian in size. Yeah, or we gotta start deleting people's crap. I'm just kidding. It's like the last thing anybody wants to hear. Don't delete my stuff. Yeah, no, it is pretty wild how much data there is out there, and YouTube just. I wonder how much compression YouTube runs that through. You know, because they see. Notice how you said 24 terabytes is uploaded to YouTube. Yeah, well, when I upload a file that's maybe 3 gigs, YouTube's only showing you a file that's maybe 400 megabytes. You know, their compression is insane. You probably have somewhere around 85% compression on YouTube. Yeah, so that does make me wonder how much is stored by YouTube's data center versus how much is actually uploaded. So somebody says the moon landing went sideways. Is that true? Then lunar stock's not going to be very happy. Oh no, the sucker tipped over. Oh. Let me see here. Oh yep, concerns. Intuitive Machine stock plummets after Moonlander tips over. Shares of the Houston-based Intuitive Machines slumped more than 30% on Monday after the space exploration firm said its Odysseus Moonlander had tipped over and was resting on its side. Oh, what a rip. The company, which became the first private company to land on the moon and the first from the U.S. since 1972, said all but one of its 6 NASA science and technology payloads were facing upwards and receptive to communications. All but one. Okay, so one tipped over? The payload on its side contains an art piece comprising miniature stainless steel sculptures by some artist. Okay. The rest of the payloads are expected to carry out their scientific objective. Okay. So one of them tipped over. Okay, one of 6 tipped over. All right, well, that's not a big deal. Then again, we don't really know what that signals for the rest of the rovers or whatever, landers, whatever we want to call them. Anyway, so there's lunar for you. All right, so what else we have here? Only Skill says the red hat. Red hat. What red hat? Let's see here. Furniture companies. Yeah, my ex worked for Berkshire. You know, they're a real estate company now, too. They bought, I think it was Prudential. Thought that was really interesting. And they changed the name Prudential Realty to Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Consulting, I believe. All right, let's see here. Shadows. No, Tony, I haven't seen that. Thoughts on Trueflation? Well, we've sort of back tested Trueflation a little bit, and we found it to always kind of be off by about 0.5%. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's something there. Let's see here. There we go. Maybe there's hopium that could come from Trueflation that suggests yes, we will have better inflation in the future. But I don't know. It certainly didn't help with January's numbers. What does it say now? Trueflation. Let's see here. Their last post. Oh, how interesting. Their last post went up to 1.81. There was a period of time there they were yapping about it being 1.3, and I'm like, I don't know about that. Now they're up to 1.81. Right. So A friend of mine's aunt sold her small real estate company in Berkshire a few years ago. It's amazing. Just sort of consolidating there. Elon started dissing Microsoft. Funny to see Linux trending. That's very interesting. Is that just redundant? Saying Elon and dissing in the same sentence? What do you think of ETFs? Well, I think it's just a matter of time. You know, you had the BTC, and then what'll happen is you'll have ETH, and then what'll happen is you'll have, you know, Solana and some of the others. And so what I do think is really neat is you'll end up with this this future where you'll actually have a bunch of different coins that you can invest in ETFs, and then soon you'll have like the S&P of crypto, right? Okay, there we go. Let's do this. There we go. I'll just put that little thing up. There we go. So, yeah, I mean, it won't really matter in the future what, to some people at least, which specific cryptocurrency it is. You'll sort of just have the S&P 500 of crypto. And I think that'll actually be really good for sort of diversifying across the assets in case you have sort of some form of a glitch or issue or, you know, whatever. At one, you're smoothing out the risk. Now, there's always the chance that indexation, much like what is argued with the S&P 500, ends up rewarding poor performing companies. There's always that chance. But who knows how much that'll actually matter in crypto. So, okay. What's next? So let's take a peek at some of the movers here in the AM. Jump into pre-market. We've got, to the downside, Intuitive Machines, and that's basically it. Everything else is maybe down. You got Carvana, Ralph Lauren down 1% along the block over there. Otherwise, most of these things are barely moving to the red side. I mean, here's, you know, 10 stocks down. You've got Trade Desk 23 basis points down. Who cares? Okay, now just adjusted to about 17. Disney's at 23 basis points to the downside. Big deal. And then on the upside, you've got ARM 137, Rivian up 2%. A little bit of recovery there. Dell up another 2%. Another 2%. You heard Dell here first. Coinbase sitting at 168. I'll take a peek at crypto and maybe also see a little bit of news that we've got here. 51.2 on BTC. Interesting. Let's see. What's with this little fall there in the last 20 minutes? Zooming out for a moment. Really getting stuck there at 53K. Sort of wedging down a bit now. So we'll watch what's going on. Let's see if we've got any prior numbers at this level. Not really. It feels like we've kind of, well, ooh, actually, yeah, look at that. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Yeah, look at that. Right there. You sort of had this, the shoulders of the head and shoulders over here. The tips of them. The tips of the shoulders were right about 52.5 to 53.1-ish. And so if I just draw, this one's not going to be perfect by any means, but TA isn't anyway. Oh my gosh, Kevin. Grab the horizontal. Come here. Come here. There we go. Alright, here we go. So if I throw it somewhere right around there, 52.4. Yeah, look at that. And then I come zoom in over here. It's almost like I just added another Fibby. And it looks pretty good. So I'm going to color that one differently, though, so I don't confuse it with the Fibby. So we'll go for a yellow color here. Maybe pop the size of that a little bit. How fascinating. Little mid-range, longer-term figure here. Okay, so... Yeah, Tony, you said the same thing you just said like 5 minutes ago, and I said I didn't know what that was, the shadow thing. Maybe you can add some more color. Michael Saylor said government would crush everything other than Bitcoin. I don't know that that's necessarily 100% true. I mean, I know we've had attempts by the SEC against multiple different sort of tokens, but I mean, Ethereum's performed just fine. And Michael Saylor, you have to keep in mind his POV, right? His company is basically just a Bitcoin holding company. You know, Ethereum's up 5% on the week here. It was just, what, in October, Ethereum was about half the price it is now. So it's doubled since October. That's crazy. I mean, think about it. October is 4 months. So in a 4-month period of time, it's doubled. And that's pretty wild. Yeah, good for them. Okay, let's take a listen here for a moment, and then I want to get what some of the suits are saying.
We'll get their earnings report, or financials, I should say, for the fourth quarter later this week. Yeah. Lucid has the Saudi Arabian investment fund that is backing them. So we'll find out.
Yeah, exactly. You couldn't even say it with a straight face. You had to qualify it when you said we'll get their earnings.
Hey, Joe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Joe, don't forget, we're in Chile later this week. China's auto revolution. It's all about the exported Chinese vehicles, not just electric vehicles, all vehicles. And we will show you some things that will make you say, wow, now I see what's going on around the world when it comes to China exporting their vehicles.
I did forget that, so thank you for reminding me. We'll look forward to it, Phil. Thank you. Rockbox will be right back.
Ooh, China exports. You know, I had this on some video, I think in November. I was playing this in the background, and it was an ad on CNBC, an ad. And then like 4 months later, or 3.5 months later, they demonetized the video. They're like, oh, you were playing an ad in the background that you don't have copyright for. I'm like, I was showing your ad. The audio was off too. It's remarkable. And it wasn't even like the topic of the video. It was just sort of like, just kind of kept going in the background. It was so stupid. But whatever, it doesn't really matter. So it's just comedy. Okay, so now we are in a place where we can go look at what some of the suits are saying. And we've caught up with some of the morning news. Somebody... There was, it does look like, by the way, the individual who set himself on fire outside of the Israeli embassy has died as of this morning. The person was extinguished yesterday and then in critical condition and did die. Gosh, fire wounds. Just absolutely nuts. It's scary. I hate the idea of fires. So I love living in places with fire sprinklers. You know, and then sometimes you see like, and a lot of people do this, but removing batteries from smoke detectors and then living in a place without fire sprinklers, and it's like a death sentence. I know they can be inconvenient. I hate it too, waking up in the middle of the night to a smoke detector. You know, I wish they'd give you like a little bit of a warning, like a heads up. Some of them do. You know, they beep a little bit over time, but some of them don't care. It's almost like they go from like 70% battery or 30% battery left to like 0. It's just anger. Who knows? Anyway. All right. China consumer staples. Let's see what Goldman Sachs has to say about Chinese consumer staples. Maybe we'll get a little bit of insight into the Chinese economy here. Boy, that's been a toughie. Is my house equipped with fire sprinklers? Wait, what? How do I go on a rant about only wanting to live in a house with fire sprinklers and then not living in one? Yes, of course, my house has fire sprinklers. China consumer staples sector has rallied 11% since Feb 1, up 4% in the last week. How interesting. Is that true? How is the tech sector doing then? If I go KWEB. KWEB. Yeah, KWEB over the last week. Yeah, KWEB after the last week has been up as well. Then we've got, let's see here. I was a firefighter, was lucky enough not to get any burns during my missions. Wow. Wow. Yeah, no kidding. Well, I did a ride along once, like a 24-hour, well, it was like 26 hours, the fire department. Boy, just the stuff you have to deal with, it's crazy. And that ride along was nuts. Started with a hit and run, ended with a chicken coop on fire. In between, you had homeless, carbon monoxide poisoning, or like an actual alarm to it too. It's a lot. Somebody's furnace was going out. It's actually the first time they were surprised. They're like, "How do we act?" These are almost always false alarms, but this time it's actually legitimate. A sprinkler system in your house, does that reduce your homeowner's insurance? Probably not, honestly, because the fire sprinkler is just going to douse everything. But then again, the sprinklers only go off where the fire is. So, if you had a first-story fire, you probably would have actually significantly less damage than if you didn't have fire sprinklers, because it would douse the fire in just that one room. So maybe it does. But then again, when California had its fires, well, when my county had its fires in 2017, a lot of homes burned down with fire sprinklers, and people were like, how is this possible? Well, what happened was the fire, it was almost like the fire had like a mind of a terrorist. The fire burned the power generation facility for our hillside first. So then it killed the power of the hillside. When it killed the power of the hillside, the pumps for water that pump water up the hillside failed, and I guess the backup systems failed or whatever. And so firefighters were up there opening fire hydrants and nothing was coming out. And so the fire sprinkler systems weren't working either. So yeah, need water for them to function, and you need electricity to pump the water up. See, you don't actually need electricity for them to work in your home because they're just under pressure. But, pumps have to actually get the water to your home. So, kind of wild. Anyway, okay, so back to China here. Hold on, I'll take it. Not organic fire, oh my gosh. No, JC, they don't set each other off. That's not how they function. I will get up and I will go get a fire sprinkler right now and show you. I think what people often think they set each other off because of fire suppression systems in movies, where like or in industrial settings, right? Where you have, a fire suppression system that just douses the entire like factory floor, or in like a server room, you'll have, a fire suppression system that'll release gas, and it releases that across the entire floor. But that's not the way they function in a home. There's a little, like almost like, I don't think they're not using mercury anymore now, but it's almost like there's a little thermometer, and when that glass breaks at a certain temperature, I think it's 135 degrees, that's what releases the flow of water, which means you can't have a flow of water without that glass breaking, and they don't all go around and shatter because one goes off. However, it is why, have you ever gone into like a motel or a hotel and they ask you to hang up, or like they ask you not to hang clothing from the fire sprinklers? It's because sometimes people, it's not just that they hang the clothing on top of the actual fire sprinkler, it's that they accidentally feed the clothing through the middle of the fire sprinkler, shatter to the glass, and then the water squirts everywhere. So that's why you see, don't hang your stuff off the fire sprinkler in the hotel. It's kind of funny. So I don't know. I don't think y'all came here to learn about fire sprinklers. But anyway, okay, moving on. So China consumer staples have rallied 11% since Feb 1. Subsector valuations have recovered. Let's see, to 14 to 27 times forward, 12-month PE. It's talking about certain sectors like dairy and condiments. Retail momentum was better than feared in staples. Key retail and catering enterprises retail sales were up 8.5% year over year. That's interesting. I wonder if this is sort of a way of suggesting that you're comparing to the bottom in China. Healthy sell-through in beer, spirits, condiments, catering up, investor feedback. Market expectations were quite bearish. Let's see here. However, we do see investor confidence and interest level gradually building up from the current levels, given the low valuations. Yeah, see that? I don't necessarily find that horribly surprising. It is hard to know, well, this is always the case, where a bottom is. But when you compare to really low comps, it's easier to bottom out. Problem is, we've been through this before in China, where you kind of just, you're on this longer term downtrend, and every time it's like, are we finally out of it? No. Are we finally out of it? No. Good old China. It's tough too, unless I feel like you're there to really get some, at least on the ground, insight to gut check some of what you're hearing. All right, peek a peek in here.
For cloud, that's a fairly typical situation. At the same time, ServiceNow keeps coming up as an integrator of their product. Again, there was a good piece out this weekend that they thought was good. They're not promotional, but they do a lot of explaining about why this is occurring.
Meantime, Kathy Wood, for example, defending her taking some profits on the name, even though she says in a tweet that she was getting in at 5.
Talked about that this morning. The thing, too, to consider is you've got a big question of who's going to be profitable from all of the artificial intelligence software. And what we found, at least ironically maybe even, comparing to Tesla, something that's very interesting is this idea that, how profitable has Tesla been able to be with what's it called here, with artificial intelligence, in other words, the full self-driving. And the answer has been probably much less profitable than expected by a lot of folks. I generally try to massively discount the value of full self-driving. I think they should drop the price of it substantially, and then they'll actually end up having more of a lead and having having potentially more data, unless they just prefer less for some particular reason. I'm not sure, but I don't know. That is interesting. An interesting thought. This idea of who is actually going to successfully have the AI revenue. And chips have sort of always been something that we've talked about here. This idea of, well, invest in the miners, right? Or sorry, don't invest in the miners. Invest in the pickaxe seller, all right? Sell the pickaxe to folks and let other folks mine. And that's been your play for chips, both chip manufacturers, fabricators, ASML, TSM, NVIDIA, AMD. The level of which that it's exploded has just been remarkable. And sure, we've seen companies like Microsoft hit all-time highs as well. The question now is, we're going to see that throughput in earnings. Right now, Microsoft is still rejected at 420. It's exactly rejected at 420. Maybe Apple one day will release a better Siri. I talked to Brett Whitten about this, and even before our interview, which you could look up. It was a great interview from a few weeks ago. Just meet Kevin Brett Whitten. But Siri sucks compared to what it could be with even a GPT integration, which I know you can create little GPT integrators into Siri through little shortcuts you can create. But it's surprising that Apple doesn't do something official. Maybe it'll come. It'll blow everyone's mind. Who knows? All right. We'll listen back in to hear for a moment.
You
believe we're at the early stages of obviously an AI revolution,
right,
to lack of a better term.
I like that.
In the same way that the internet was, or that the move to mobile or cloud was, at least to a perhaps lesser extent,
right,
This is still the name, Jim.
Yeah, look, I think that there are a lot of companies that are piggybacking off of it too. ARM,
There are
Micron.
plenty, and it doesn't appear at this point yet that you can buy companies that are benefiting from the end product in a real way.
No, I mean,
right?
it's just
the
super
use of
micro,
generative
but-
AI in the workplace by the enterprise. It's very, very
But
early
how often do
days.
you go to Copilot and get things?
I don't use
You ought
it.
to try it.
Yeah,
I mean,
I just haven't incorporated
it's
any of these things
prurient interest.
in my. But I'm not a early adopter.
Well,
so.
I'll tell you how it works. I mean, for instance, I have Huntington Bank shares on today, and I read all that I could find in go over all the conference call, and I'm looking for commercial real estate issues because that's what Barry Sternlicht's alerted to us is in kind of the black hole of the economy. And I just do a commercial real estate, a Huntington, and it comes up with 2 reference points, and one of them that I guess I glossed over. So I think it's very good as a check to your homework.
AI.
Do. AI, yeah.
Well, we're going to talk about it in the framework of media, given what Blackwell's saying about Disney, what Tyler Perry said about AI and his studio expansion on Friday, Jim. Jobs will be lost, I think is the quote.
He's not spending originally what was anticipated in Atlanta to expand because he doesn't have to, right?
After getting a look at some of the capabilities.
But I would tell you, Jesse, Mom would say, look, if these people are really good, they've got more time to do what matters and less time to do what's proofing. I mean, look, I did not go over the CRE, the commercial real estate of Huntington Bank shares because I had it from Copilot, which I regard as being a very good product.
And is that work that a producer would have done for you prior?
No, I don't do that. I look at it. I mean, I have a memo, Bob. I do the work.
So it's not replacing jobs, is Carl's question.
No, but we're better. I mean, I have Ben Stowe to look at it, and I will look at it, and I don't want to ask Mr. Steiner stuff that I don't know, because then they won't come back on. CEOs won't come back on if you waste their time.
I need to, when I can just talk to it real quickly and.
Oh, well, that's going to happen.
That's gonna
it's
happen,
already
right?
happening. And yeah, Jensen would tell you there's just a lot of people who just talk.
You know, I was skiing yesterday with Jack, and one of the things that I was talking to we were talking about this company, by the way. I forgot the name of it. We were talking about it either here on the channel or on the Course Member Live. The company that produces glasses, lasers, mirrors. I'm pretty sure it's some form of a weapons distributor or at least a supplier. And it was. Anyway, I was talking to this person yesterday, and his point of view is that artificial intelligence is really good, and it is a good perspective, was really good at reducing either the labor intensity or the wage inflation in certain very highly paid jobs. For example, can an attorney really still charge you, $500 an hour if they're able to do 10 times as much work because they're able to run certain document sets through GPT, as an example, right? And I know that's going to piss attorneys off because we're not suggesting that every attorney is doing that and just running through everything through GPT. But the point is, if an attorney can now 3x the amount of work that they can do, or even 2x, or even do 50% more work, does that then sort of create more of a supply of attorney hours and potentially then reduce the cost of attorney hours? So in other words, if highly paid sectors, like whether it's in accounting or whatever, can be more productive, whatever percentage they're more productive, does that end up reducing the value of that service because there's more supply, and demand is not necessarily substantially higher, or maybe it is amongst the best who then aggregate those hours. That's sort of an interesting point of view. And, mostly it started, I was talking about this idea of, it seems to be this sort of 10 to 15% productivity boost to have artificial intelligence tools in your workflow. But in terms of, massively groundbreaking, I don't know that every industry has seen that at all. Probably most sort of more marginal, which is okay. Got to start somewhere. But I thought that was interesting. and was fun skiing with Jack. I will say this season has been a little wild in terms of how little snow there's been. I don't know if anybody else has felt that frustration, but last year it took all the frickin' snow. This year it's literally felt like spring skiing always. I mean, yeah, there have been the occasional snowstorms here and there, but I don't know, far and few between. Anyway. Okay, so let's see here. Should help Trump's second-rate lawyers with all his criming. Wow. So you're voting for Trump, I see. Why do you gotta be political? Although I read it, that's funny. Let's see here. Already incorporated into most legal software. Well, yeah, I mean, if you're gonna go through, Lexus Nexus or whatever, you need some help. Makes attorneys more valuable, which increases their cost. Well, it's arguable, right? Because, see, there's an irony here. That, yes, an attorney can be more productive and more valuable, but if solutions, are the solutions more valuable? That's the question. I think that drives the value. I don't think the value is how productive can the attorney be. That is going to be true on the individual basis. The most productive attorney is going to get the most work. They'll make the most money. But if the value of the problem they're solving is the same, then it just aggregates that amongst fewer attorneys. So let me explain that differently. Let's say there are $100,000 of legal earnings to be made tomorrow. Okay, so what in a one-day time frame? Let's say there are $100,000 of potential legal earnings to be earned. Well, the one attorney who could work 4 times as fast might be able to take more of that pie. But did the $100,000 pie increase because of AI? Probably not. Probably not. Anyway, yeah, and as far as the AI generators, and movies and that, I think the AI generators will probably, same thing, be like this, extra, little oddball scenes that you kind of need, but you still need people to put together the movie, the emotion. I don't think AI is going to be able to pull that off for a long time. The humanness of chemistry in movies, or the empathy or sympathy you have towards characters or not, and then quite frankly, the a lot of the sample videos we get for AI are like, okay, you tried 100 examples and got one that works really well. It's getting better, but to cater it towards exactly what you want, I don't know. I don't know how close that is. I also think there'll be a long-term sort of frustration towards AI. And I'm not saying this will actually slow down AI, but I think there'll be this long-term idea of like, this has no AI. Like, that'll be sort of a pitch. One of the reasons I thought of that is just sort of like with eHack, we could be probably faster with AI, but then is there the risk of just like saturating information that nobody cares about? Like, one of the things that I really like about eHack is that it's just, I try to put the bare minimum interesting stuff that I'm reading. So like, for example, in the weekend, I was, wrote some comments on Barclays or some research on what's going on at the border. And some of these things were just sort of the bare minimum, get you a little bit smarter, or a little bit more informed. And, I could throw an AI novel up there, but who's going to read it all, and who cares? So how do we tell it to just parse out the most important things? And then do you just get, generic headlines that don't have human insight into, okay, well, here's why this matters. Maybe it'll get there. I see somebody else here in medicine. We're about to try AI to do our charts in the ER, and we'll likely get rid of human scribes. Yeah, and there are definitely going to be positions that will be replaced. I mean, eventually, drivers will be replaced, right? People who are transcribing things. I mean, of course. I mean, it's kind of like, to some extent, I feel like you could probably have like an AI sign language bot, or an AI, AI transcription I mean, it's already mostly automated anyway. It all just gets better and better over time. It's pretty incredible. So, anyway. In 10 years, I can use AI to make my own Meet Kevin videos. Maybe. So, okay. Let's take a peek here. Somebody indicates BTC volumes down. Let's see. Here's the price action, at least. I wanted to see what's been happening in the last minute. Honestly, it's recovered a little bit on the past minute here. Or the past 20 minutes since we've been looking at it. Okay, so what else do we have here? Let's see what else there is to talk about. Yes, AI coupon codes linked below, and life insurance. metkevin.com/life. Hashtag sponsored. All AI. Okay. So, let's see here what else we have. We should look at the 10-2. How's our inversion doing? Or the 2-10. The 2's 10s. That's the way we should actually call it. Alright, so we have 10 years sitting roughly flat here. 4.27 if we were to round it. If I go grab the 2-10, maybe we'll look at inflation break-evens as well, just to see if those are starting to run up. Wow, we just fell deeper into inversion. We're down negative points in inversion now. That was from about 30, where we've been hanging out for a while. What changed? Let's see, the 10's at 2... Oh, wow. The 2's up to 4.7, where the 10's down substantially. The spread's gotten pretty large here. And then your 5-year break-even inflation data sitting at about 2.39. With the... And that's also up a little bit. And then your 5-year forward, so 5 years out plus 5, is sitting at 2.23. So somewhat implying 5 years of slightly elevated inflation. That's what the bond market is implying. Someone blocks Norwegian cruise ship over fears of cholera outbreak. Well, we were just talking this weekend about how it seems like, as much as I love cruises, it's just your odds of getting sick on them. It just feels like high. Mostly it's the elevators and the cafeteria we are sort of guessing on. Or speculating about. Elevators. Everybody's in those elevators all day long. I don't even know. I mean, I guess you could. I guess you could take sort of the wider stairs they usually have with the cruise ships. But anyway, all right. What else? We know Mr. Israel continuing to push into Rafah, even as negotiations continue. And let's see what else. A little quiet here from the suits. Let's take a peek. Let's see here. We've got Goldman, JP Morgan, futures. Let's see what they've got for us. Right. So, can markets keep rallying, says JP Morgan. The well-flagged concentration risk can continue from here, since there are no obvious negative catalysts for the Magnificent Seven. And you have a series of investor events in March that have the potential to pull more inflows, including NVIDIA's event on March 18th, where the company has historically announced their next generation data products. Wow. So I wonder if the stock can rally into that event and then, buy the rumor, sell the news. That always seems to be common with these events. We'll make a little note of that. I think that's interesting. So again, that's NVIDIA, and that's March 18 GTC event. Commonly announce new data center products. So that'll be one to watch. Why have stocks decoupled from bond yields? Growth, low leverage, earnings performance. Right. Well, yeah, again, you've got the mega few that continue to grow in this environment, especially since they're such takers of high yield, whereas poor companies are payers of high yield, or individuals frequently are payers of high yield. So then we have presence of an inverted yield curve will prove more of a headwind for cyclical sectors since stocks tend to lose value in recession. Consumer discretionary, energy, and materials have underperformed year to date, while financials are outperforming. Those, at least. Post GFC and immediately after COVID, we adopted ZERP, and we saw companies take advantage of low rates to strengthen their balance sheets. Exactly. Yeah, net interest payments, non-financial corporate businesses. That's an interesting chart. Let me pull that for us here really quick. Non-financial corporate net interest payments. All right. Oh, wow. Yeah. See, this is an example here. It's just poor folks who are paying most of the interest. Look at this. Corporate net interest payments, excluding the financials. You're plummeting. Every single quarter here, the amount of net interest being paid is plummeting because the interest being received on cash is so explosive. That's kind of fascinating. So again, the smaller paying the most. Okay, so it's an interesting point of view. JP Morgan. Let's see, what else could hurt? Negative non-farm payroll will probably be the biggest, as well as inflation risks. Okay, so here are the risks. Let's write them down together. So risks, JPM sees to rally. Okay, so they see negative jobs report. Then you've got 2 to 3 consecutive negative retail sales reports. Remember, so far we've seen neither of those things. No negative almost anywhere, it feels like. Then you could get year-on-year, quarter-over-quarter growth declines in S&P earnings. An inflation spike beyond January. These are fair catalysts. Decline in consumption triggered by a rise in unemployment. Well, that's similar to the first two. Deterioration of consumer and corporate balance sheets. Yeah, probably more likely to be a deterioration of the consumer balance sheet. More likely deterioration of consumer balance sheets. Yeah. All right. Take a peek. Listen in over here. That's interesting from JPM, though.
Improvement in their overall metrics as a result of the use of
Absolutely.
generative AI?
I mean, I think that's going to be the theme
for their
of their
customer
conference
base.
call. Yeah. Now, it is interesting that they're not mentioned. It's always been ServiceNow that's mentioned, and yet I think that these guys are using it very well because Einstein, which is their artificial intelligence, in a lot of ways is powered by this kind of chip. So I just say that it's bars high, but it'll be the first company not really pushed by NVIDIA to talk about NVIDIA.
All right, we'll keep an eye on Salesforce shares, of course, and the broader market as well. Opening bell is just 4 minutes away. And by the way, don't forget, you can catch us anytime.
You know, what blows my mind is that I called, there's Salesforce has Einstein, and I called Salesforce a few times back at sort of the beginning of the AI rally, and we're kind of like, oh, tell us about Einstein AI. And they're like, yeah, we just kind of have that on our website. It's not really ready yet. And I'm like, wow, these, yes, say we have AI. And then it's not even like 2% functional. It's just, yeah, No. I mean, maybe that's changed, right? Maybe that's changed. Maybe that's improved and the product's great now. Who knows? Who knows? So, oh well. The U.S. says it's using AI for targeting help in Mid-East airstrikes. Yeah, well, I think that's where Palantir will probably come in. Let's see what it says. U.S. used AI to identify targets hit by airstrikes in the Mideast, revealing a growing military use of the technology. I believe that. I mean, if you could sort of, hey, is this a threat or not? And then use algo to quickly identify. That'd be useful. Oh, yeah, AI is quickly helping identify objects. Okay, so, you know, is that a gun? Is it a rifle? Is it an IED? What is it? We've been using computer vision to identify where there might be threats. The U.S. is currently looking for an awful lot of rocket launchers from hostile forces. Maybe using AI to scan with the Predator drone. Hey, where are the rockets coming from? Who's going to get hellfired? You know, the Hellfire missile had a really long phrase, and it was nicknamed Hellfire. If I look at, where was the darn thing? If I could find out. Hellfire. What was that thing called previously? I can't remember. But anyway, it's a nickname, which I thought was very interesting, for pretty darn long phrase. Maybe somebody will know. But anyway, I want to get hellfire from the sky. It's kind of scary. Oh, there it is. Originally named the Heliborne Laser Fire and Forget Missile. Heliborne Laser. I don't even know what that... Yeah, helicopter. Heliborne. Heliborne Laser Fire and Forget Missile. Changed to Hellfire Missile. That sounds so much better. Anyway. U.S. strikes, which the Pentagon said damaged or destroyed rockets, missiles, drone storage, blah, blah, blah. Using AI to help identify targets in Yemen. Better hope it's not wrong. I mean, I'm sure it's all verified, right, by humans ultimately. Oh yeah, it's actually what it says towards the end of the article. All verified by humans. That's funny. Well, yeah. Okay, so, yeah, caddies this week. Again, biggest probably will be PCE, the inflation report, just to sort of like slap in our face the reiteration of the inflation that we've had in January. Oh, the bell. Here we go.
Yes, and they're shifting more, as many others will if they can. Apache really can't. They have a lot of natural gas, been a terrible performer. Carl, it's asterisk in the consumer price index, but it is a very important part of the mosaic of what people spend in their lives.
Yes. Between that, even with a little bounce here in gasoline last few weeks, nat gas has definitely got a lot of attention.
Right, and it should. I mean, by the way, nat gas reverberates throughout the entire system. It's the fuel for industry. It's the fuel for plastic. It does not get it.
Okay, I'd say that's what, maybe mostly red? Like 70, 65% red? We'll go with that. So we've got BTC at the open here. Looks like it's mostly stable. If anything is trying to trend up. You've got Apple slightly negative. Let's go to the minute chart here and just kind of see the behavior of what's moving. Lunar's down. Yeah, it's trying to red candlestick down here. Down about 22%. Will it recover after one of the rovers tipped over? I don't know. ARM Holdings rallies. ARM Holdings up 5.3%. Very, very little float outstanding on this one. This one is clearly taking advantage of that. Up 6% now. Moving. You've got Dell up another 3.4%. Dell earnings are coming up, which will be very interesting because they'll... I think they might, now that there's so much attention on Dell, they might really highlight how well Dell is participating or not in the AI movement. I suspect, their earnings are in 3 days. we shouted them out substantially when they were shouted out by NVIDIA. In fact, I had a whole sort of segment of my NVIDIA earnings video dedicated to Dell and some of the numbers we were looking at and how cheap their valuation was relative to this other AI craze that we're seeing specifically with like a super micro. Dell's sort of like the discounted stepbrother of super micro computer. The question is, will they actually hold on to anything? I don't know. NVIDIA is trading at about 805. Yeah, it's not like there's any kind of real resistance level we can pick here other than what we've had over the past few days. And is there potentially some resistance at 805 to 810? Maybe. You've actually got Tesla just over 1%. ARM's almost at 7%. Coinbase up now about 4%. I wonder what Coinbase news there is. Intuitive Machines on the Rover down 26 now. Airbnb down a couple, Block down a bit. You've got Generac sitting there at about 1.2 down. Trade Desk 84 bips down. Looking for news on Coin. Nope. No particular coin there. Stock rally driven by a less hopeful start to year. Markets are normally overly optimistic coming into a new year. This year, however, U.S. economic and earnings expectations were unusually less optimistic. This will make gains from here not as easy and will make it harder for results to keep beating loftier expectations. No recession. Okay, and then in terms of Bank of America, it looks like did Bank of America release another fund survey? Let's see if I get that. No, not handy. It's not today. Anyway, Bank of America fund manager survey. Do you expect a recession? If so, when? Next 12 months, 41% say no. 21%. Oh, hold on, let me make sure I'm reading this right. Yeah, okay, there we go. 21% say Q2 24. 20% say Q3 24. And then 6% for Q1 24. Well, that's like already over. And then Q4 is at 5%. So it's either coming soon or not at all are the expectations. But then again, markets always seem to be funny and doing kind of the opposite of what people expect. Dutch Bros down about 82 bips as well. New York Community Bank sitting at 4.4 still. Kind of the mid 4.5 sort of range is where it's been trading. You've got, this is the hour chart. Let's go to the minutes. There we go. Some volatility there as the day starts on the Qs. First up, and now looks like wants to trend down. Berkshire Hathaway still pulling about 2.5%. And phase down about, it's up 7 bips now, but it's sort of bobbing around 0. And NVIDIA is bobbing around 803. Okay, let's see what else. What else is there? So, recession timing. Let's listen in for a moment.
And by the way, once again, auto insurance, David, has to be factored in because that's been the bogey that has really hurt a lot of everyone has to have insurance. You don't go out there and say, you know what, I'm going to risk it. You have to have it. We need some more competition.
Remember when Apollo did that convert or something?
That was a great
Carvana?
price.
Wow.
But Garcia's he's making.
Yeah, boring. One of the things we noticed as well when it comes to this idea of recession timing is that yield curve. I want to see how that's moving this morning. Yield curve goes deeper into inversion this morning. Down negative 44 basis points versus roughly 30 the last few weeks. And this is driven by the 2-year rising and 10 remaining somewhat stable. Yeah, that's somewhat concerning, that 2-year rising. Usually the 2-year runs when there's more near-term fear, and you're at 4.7% on 2-year right now, and then you're at versus the 4.26 on 10-year. Wow, what a crazy spread. Was a lot deeper too. It was down like -80 to -100 there for a period of time. Gold's at 2038. Bitcoin, how's it moving in the morning here? So Qs are trying to stabilize here. And then as the Qs try to stabilize, where's BTC settling? Up. BTC settling up, 51.5. Apple continues its sort of trek down. It will be interesting if we do get that sort of broadening rally. That is an idea that people have had, that maybe, it's an idea, maybe companies like NVIDIA or Microsoft or the Magnificent Six, I think this is just a hope that people have. I don't know how realistic it is, but there's this hope that, oh, those will be stuck in the mud. You know, those will hang out for a little bit. You know, the Googles, the Microsofts, the Apples, they're not going to go anywhere for a bit. And the rally's going to broaden. Everything else is going to have its time to play in the sand, so to speak. Google's down 2%. Let's see why. Google. Okay. News from Google this morning. Nothing particular. This could just be just momentum or profit taking or what. I don't see anything particular on Google this morning as to why it would be down 2%. I do notice that Google moves a lot on AI news. So anything that takes away fear of, or anything that contributes to fear of Google having problems with search in the longer term does create some risks. Yeah, copium. Yeah, no, exactly. That could be. Why is DWAC down? Yeah, DWAC, DWAC whacked Nikki Haley in North Carolina. DWAC down 5.6, probably because it's this is a trader stock, DWAC. Most people who touch this are just trading news headlines on Trump. Look at Robinhood, though. Robinhood's just been on a tear lately. Since early February, it's up quite a bit here. It's up almost 50% in just the last 3 weeks. So congratulations to Robinhood. Nancy Pelosi just bought Palo Alto Networks, so did she? Let's see here. I've been telling Kevin to replace all equipment with Dell for years now. Yes, you have, Steve. Yes, you have. Okay, so Google down because of Elon's tweet on Gemini. I mean, maybe. I think it probably a little bit more on more than Elon's tweet. I mean, there were some real problems with Gemini. It's possible that the negative press from Gemini could have pulled that off. Absolutely. Keep in mind, if you haven't seen the updates yet on House Hack, we've got the new Reg D fundraise. If our plans work this year, which we are very optimistic about, we probably won't ever have to fundraise again for House Hack. So consider that for House Hack. You can learn more, obviously, at househack.com. Just go /2024 to make your life easy, or just look at the House Hack Homes YouTube channel. And actually got to fly for an inspection today, so that'll be fun. So House Hack's kicking butt. So if you have questions, post them or email us at ir@househack.com. We're setting up where we've got a whole list of folks already who want a 1031 into some of the House Hack products we're coming up with. So if you're interested in 1031 exchanging into basically mini funds, we can set that up soon. Hopefully by the end of this week, we can start getting that set up or be ready to start accepting 1031s. So stay tuned for that. Email us at ir@househack.com. Okay, so, which is pretty crazy to think you could go from real estate to some form of like mini fund, but it's kind of cool. Okay, then, so we've talked Berkshire Hathaway, we've talked about their gains with cash, and we've got Robinhood up 4.8%. I see ARM moving here. Let's go ARM. Are they still moving? Yeah, look at that. ARM now up 9.5%. What's the yield on 1031s? Probably about 4% plus appreciation in real estate. That's our target. It's not a guarantee at this point because there's no offering for those, but that's the goal. Could be 375 plus appreciation or whatever, but the goal is 4% plus appreciation, and then no fees, right? So we actually think that's very good, especially since you have tax benefits from depreciation that actually make that yield compared to bond in many cases closer to about 5%. So it's kind of like a 5% bond is roughly equivalent to about a 4% mini fund yield because of the depreciation pass through if you cost segregate, which we intend to. And you got to structure that, so you can't really guarantee that. It's very interesting. But I think that's pretty good. So same yield as bonds, but you get the real estate appreciation protection, which is pretty awesome. So we think as money market rates fall over time, those will become very popular because there won't even be that money market or bond competition at all. So we're kind of excited about where we're starting with house hack because we think we're in an environment where you've almost only got tailwinds ahead of you. If you can make it sort of in this environment and do well in this environment, you could probably do well in all. Dominoes, somebody says Dominoes, wow, what's going on with DPZ? 8% on Dominoes? Max, my son, ordered Papa John's a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, what is this trash? Domino's. And so I ordered Domino's even though we already had Papa John's. So I didn't want the Papa John's. I think that's an example of pricing power. So Domino's reported adjusted EPS beat 4.48% versus 4.38%. You've got Uber delivery now available throughout the U.S. Comp sales 3%, above 3% long-term guidance. Low single-digit price increases more in California. Well, yeah, because the labor. Oh, it's so funny. I had somebody text me about, it was like some bot or whatever, text me about rent control and these ballot propositions, and I started debating them about the long-term benefits or harms to rent control, which is mostly harms from an economic point of view. For renters, actually. It helps renters in the short term. In the long term, it just devastates renters and reduces supply and increases rents. It's the great irony. But anyway, they sent me a message back. What they say here? After I started asking them, they go, I'm opting you out of our text messages immediately. Have a great day. And I'm like, oh, wow, you slime bags. That was so funny, though. As soon as there's a debate, you're fired. Sad. But that's politics for you. Nobody actually wants to debate in politics. It's not about what's right. It's about winning. Sad. It's pathetic and sad. Okay, what else? Let's see here. Goldman strikes some. That's boring. Congress to decide government shutdown or not. Yeah, boring. Boring. All right, DPZ's up 7%. ARM's up 10. Nasdaq's flat. Google's down 1.3. Apple's down 67 bips. Interest rate sensitives are moving up today. Enphase up. Really does not want to be under that 119 level. Up 146. Supermicro's given up 2.4 right now, whereas Palo Alto's up 4. Tesla's up 2, although it was down 2 last week, so you're probably still negative. This is why you don't debate on the internet. Hey, man, I tried to debate through text messages, okay? I'll debate you right now. Costco mac and cheese is banging. I had mac and cheese at a Sacramento hospital, and it was delicious. And then somebody walked out, hey, are you me, Kevin? We watch you on the lives. So if you are watching right now, thank you. I remember you. So shout out to you and your partner. That's what you said. That cafeteria where we met, banging. That's what's banging. That place is delicious. And the breakfast is cheap. And then they just skyrocket the prices for lunch. Oh, boy. Oh, yeah. Okay. What else? Oh, wow. NVIDIA's given up its gains. Wait a second here. Ho! My kid will be born there soon. Well, my kid's going to be stuck there for another 8 freaking weeks. So I guess I should probably do a baby update, but if at least 8 weeks. So I might see you there. So anyway, okay. Wow, this is weird though. This Nvidia give up here. Is this it? Do we get resisted at 805? What was it? What was it? Our candlestick was, my guess this morning was 805. It looks like it's more like 804. 804. Very interesting. Oh, Nvidia
lost the lead.
Oh, there it goes. That's it. Take profits. Everybody run. Hey, look, I love Nvidia. They're like a 10% weight in you know, some stuff I'm exposed to, and I love him. And the cash flow is amazing. The AI transformation is real, but like I said after earnings, it continuing to price in the growth that's being priced in feels unsustainable. But who knows? I mean, it still killed it after earnings, right? I mean, we knew they were going to beat at earnings. There was no question they were going to beat. And it blew my mind. I was wrong. I thought they were going to showcase a negative or like a substantially slower quarter-over-quarter growth. They still crushed it. So the question, though, is how long can this continue on, so to speak, this above the 731? Well, we'll see. It's about to go green again. Look at that. Oh, it just gained the lead again.
Gained the lead.
So is 804? Is 804 the number? I'm going to watch that today. Is 804 a ceiling for Nvidia above the 731s? We'll see. Domino's. Look at Domino's. Domino's is like Nvidia. Holy smokes. Domino's is up $130 since November. Oh my lord. Good job, Domino's. Anyway, 2.5% here on Google. We've got Nvidia's up 14 basis points. Now, how's SMCI doing? Usually they move pretty heavily following a move on Nvidia. SMCI. Nope. It's only down 2%. Surprising. And ARM's up 9. It's incredible. Okay. Oh, there goes Lunar, down 30%. Absolutely amazing. Did Domino's add new cheese to the stock or the pizza? All right. What else? Y'all partying during the inversion of the yield curve, but when the uninversion happens, you'll get your volatility. Yeah, you're probably right about that. You're probably right. Ironically, you know, I was joking about this, but I'm kind of also serious about it. Palo Alto, 5%, yeah. Kind of also serious about this. Look at a company like Tesla, and I want you to ask yourself, are they going to do better in a recession or worse? This is the entertainment. My speculation, and then I'm going to go make coffee and go to the course member live stream. This is my speculation. Tesla is highly interest rate sensitive, and it is not highly recession sensitive, in my opinion. That is, I think, you know, if you get a broad recession and you have, as we've already seen, tech jobs continue to boom, you know, the tech layoffs were mostly 2022, you continue to get higher income individuals who are able to buy cars, but now they're able to buy them at substantially lower interest rates, leading to Tesla's recession resilience, and that interest rate sensitivity comes through because interest rates plummet. Now, do I actually think interest rates are going to plummet in the near term? No. But then again, you know, that's mostly driven by that we've probably printed our way out of a recession for now because of fiscal spending, Inflation Reduction Act spending, you know, credits to electric vehicles even, whatever. The amount of fiscal spending has been enormous. And then compound that with, quite frankly, what AI has done has made it very simple to just beat on a marginal basis and keep GDP warm. 2.9% is the current estimate in Q1 here. So you've probably had a confluence of these things, at the very least, delay the recession. So fiscal spending and AI probably delayed the recession. Then the question is, okay, fine, then we just stay inverted for longer and the recession comes in, I don't know, 25 or 26. It's entirely possible. It's always there's always a recession 2 years away. That's always what they say. So it'll be very interesting. Just an idea, obviously. We'll see what happens. But it's always fun to speculate and make bets, especially when you're winning. Okay. One last check here. I see a lot of green, but the Q's negative and NVIDIA flat. Wow, the rally slows. The rally slows. All right, folks. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye. Oh, wait, I got to push the button. Oh, my gosh, I almost forgot.
Just close the fucking door. Close the door.
Even though I'm a licensed financial advisor, real estate broker, and becoming a stockbroker, this video is neither personalized financial advice nor real estate advice for you. It is not tax, legal, or otherwise personalized advice tailored to you. This video provides generalized perspective, information, and commentary. Any third-party content I show should not be deemed endorsed by me. This video is not and shall never be deemed reasonably sufficient information for the purpose of evaluating a security or investment decision. Any links or promoted products are either paid affiliations or products or services which we may benefit from. I personally operate and actively manage ETF and hold long positions in various securities, potentially including those mentioned in this video. However, I have no relationship to any issuers other than HouseHack, nor am I presently acting as a market maker. Thanks, y'all. You're too nice. Scott, thanks. Appreciate it, man. I only had my son in the NICU for a week, and that was hard. I appreciate you, Scott. No, any time in there sucks. Thank you so much. Anonymous YT. Love you, Ken. Thank you. Thank you so much. We'll see you later. All right. Yeah, don't forget the button. Okay. Coffee, course member life.